Hi everybody, I'm going to do some questions from number 12. This is the review section, exercise 2.8. So we're now revising, getting ready for our equations test. So in this video and a few videos coming up, I'll be doing some of these review questions. So let's look at these three questions here. So the first one is P minus 20 equals 68. So remembering, we want to get P by itself. So we're going to do the opposite operation to minusing, which is plussing, and we're going to plus 20 to both sides. Okay, so I've now got 68 plus 20 on this side. Now, of course, minus 20 plus 20 just becomes P, and we get 68 plus 20 is 88. So P equals 88 is the answer to that first question. All right, next question is 3b equals 48. Now remember, that's 3 times b equals 48. So to get b by itself, we divide both sides by 3. So I'm dividing the left and right by 3. That then gives me b by itself because the two 3's cancel, there and there. So b equals 16. Last question is question D. And here, to get r by itself, we've got to get rid of that divide 7. The opposite operation to divide 7 will be to multiply by 7. So I multiply 7 to both sides. So negative 5 times 7. What happens then is that the two 7's cancel, and I end up with r equals negative 35. So there's our first three examples. What I'll do now is I will just pause the video a second and get the next three set up. Back in a moment. Okay, so next two questions. Here I've got y over 4 minus 3 equals 12. Okay, so I've got two things here I've got to do to isolate y by itself. I'm either deciding here to get rid of the 4 or the 3 first of all, or the negative 3. So we always try and get rid of the thing that's the furthest away from the y first, which is the negative 3. So first up here, just going to select my pen again, pardon. First up here, I'm going to get rid of the 3 by adding 3 to both sides. Minus 3 plus 3 is 0. So I end up with y over 4 equals 12 plus 3, which is 15. Now I can get rid of the 4. Remembering from a previous question, to get rid of divide 4, the opposite operation is to multiply by 4. Whatever I do to one side of the equation, I've got to do to the other side. Times the left by 4, times the right by 4. Those two 4's then cancel. I'm left with y equals 15 times 4, which is 60. Now remember, you can always try out your answer back up here, okay? If I put y equals 60 in there, so I put 60 there, 60 divided by 4 would be 15, minus 3 would be 12. So 60 is an answer that works out quite nicely there. Next question here is 5 minus k equals negative 7. Now, there's a few ways of going about this, but remember that minus k is effectively minus 1k. Now that helps you put that in, because it sometimes can help to remember it as that. All right, and remember too that this 5 here is a positive 5. You might even write that in, because sometimes people can think the negative belongs to that 5, but it doesn't. So what we've got here is positive 5 minus 1k equals negative 7. So here I haven't changed anything in the question. I've just clarified things a little bit. So if I want to get rid of that plus 5, in fact, actually, I'll do another step first. I like to have the letter first, so I'm going to do that. So I still haven't changed the question. All I've done is change the order of the left-hand side, and I can do that. Now it's something that's a bit more familiar to us. So I've got negative 1k plus 5 minus 5 equals negative 7 minus 5. So negative 1k equals negative 12. K equals negative 12. Sorry, what we're doing now is we're dividing both sides by negative 1. to get k by itself. So negative 12 divided by negative 1. The two negative ones here cancel. So we end up with k equals negative 12 divided by negative 1, which is positive 12. And there we go. So there's some of the easier examples from exercise 2.8. In a moment, we'll try some harder ones. So I'll just set them up and I'll be back within just a moment. Okay, let's have a look at some more problems here to do with equations. First up, this one, 42 minus 7b equals 14. All right, so I like, just a thing of mine, to have the pronumerals, or the letters if you like to call them, first up here. So I'm going to change this to negative 7b plus 42. Remember, that's a positive 42 equals 14. Right, so I've changed nothing about the question there. I haven't actually done any maths yet, really. I've just changed the order of things. So the first thing I'm going to deal with now is that positive 42. So negative 7b plus 42 minus 42 equals 14 minus 42. Right, so I've subtracted 42 from both sides. Now those two 42s there will cancel out, plus 42 and minus 42. And let's move over here a little bit. We're left with negative 7b equals 14 minus 42. Now you can use your calculator if you wish. It's going to be negative 28. Okay, that's the first step. So I've got rid of the positive 42 from the left-hand side. Now, to get b on its lonesome, I need to divide both sides by what's in front of b, which is negative 7. So negative 28 over negative 7. And b will therefore equal negative 28 divided by negative 7. Negative divided by negative is a positive. 28 divided by 7 is 4. Okay, remembering too that the two negative 7s cancel out there. So the answer to the first one is 4. You can replace 4 back in there. Okay, if I put 4 back in there, I get 42 minus 7 times 4, which is 42 minus 28, which is indeed 14. So I can always check that my answer fits. The word equations is referring to the fact that both sides will be equal. Okay, so once you've found your b that you think is b, hopefully it is, you can put it back in there, remembering that that's negative 7 times b. Right, so next question is this one. Now, remember in class I mentioned about the change sides, change signs rule, and I'm just going to start down here just to give myself a bit more room. And when I use the change sides, change signs rule, indicated what we try to do is get all the pronumerals or letters on the left and all the numbers on the right, positive 5 there, and anything that changes sides changes signs. Okay, so that 4t there, okay, so that 4t there has gone over here and become a minus 4t, and that negative 11 back up here has gone over the other side and become a plus 11. So anything that's swapped from left to right or right to left has changed sign from negative to positive or vice versa. The other two things, okay, if I change pen color for a second, 12t and the positive 5, they didn't change. Okay, still got 12t there, still got positive 5 here. Okay, and that's important. Right, so moving on, now it becomes a bit easier because we've got 12t minus 8t, 12t minus 4t, which is 8t, equals positive 5 plus 11 is 16. We can then divide both sides by 8. That'll be 16 divided by 8 on the right-hand side. The 8's cancel, and I'm left with t equals 2. So there we are. That's the next question. Last question of this video is 2 outside of 4p minus 3 equals 2 outside of 3p minus 5. Now, we've learned in class that the first thing you've got to do is remove the brackets. Okay, so when I say remove brackets, we times what's outside by what's inside, here, and also here. So let's start with this one. 2 times 4p is 8p. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Equals 2 times 3p is 6p. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. So now it's a very similar question to the one I just did. Okay, we've got letters on both sides and numbers on both sides. So change sides, change signs rule. So we get all the letters on the left, all the numbers on the right, and anything that changes from left to right or right to left changes sign. So just highlighting again this time in green pen, that negative 6 there has now become a positive 6. That negative 10 there, it stayed there, beg your pardon. And that 6p, positive 6p, is going to open and become a negative 6p. So those two have swapped and they've changed their sign. Okay, get rid of all that. Right, so 8p minus 6p is 2p. Go back to the black pen. And negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4. Now I divide both sides to get p by itself by 2. P equals negative 2. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So there we go. Hopefully that'll give you a bit of a hand with some of those equations in our revision. I'll do some more videos coming up where I do slightly harder questions and maybe a couple of problem-solving questions as well, just to show you how they can go. That's all for now.